How was Herb pregame? Like, was he a speech guy or did he just give you keys? Did he rile you guys up?
Never swore,
Yeah.
right? Extremely prepared, right? I mean, in every detail is incredible. But the speech that you hear in the movie Miracle is basically what he did, and he was our confidence. You know what I mean? They're ripe. They're ready to be beaten. You guys have earned this. All the things. But he never said you're gonna win. So it's really interesting in words when you pay attention to what actually is being said. There is a way to beat this team. You guys have the ability. You know what I mean? But you're not going to just do this and beat them. You got to execute.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Wait, so the movie speech is actually fairly close.
Very close. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Is that story where he made you guys run after the skate? Or sorry, I'm a football guy. Skate. When he had you guys skate after the match or
The Norway game.
the Norway game. How many did you do?
So the part that's really interesting, this basically talks about trends before they become habit.
Yeah.
So Herb Brooks has challenged to just kind of put this in perspectives, right? They didn't want him to be a coach. They wanted Parker or Billy Cleary. So he had to convince him to be coach. Then the U.S. hockey was okay with preparing to compete, not win. And there's a huge difference. So when we talk about underdog versus a winning underdog is either I'll go to companies when I speak to them, I'll say, okay, where are we? Are you guys preparing to win or compete? Are you looking to be bought or are you acquiring, right? Because it's one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Jules, we played 61 games before the Olympics.
Yeah.
No other Olympic team had ever played more than 8.
Yeah.
We played 47 of those 61 on the road. We did it in 4 months. The NHL played 80 games in 9, right? And so we practiced the day of a game. If you didn't like how we played during the game, we practiced after the game. And it always comes down to the same thing. I always ask people, what's the most important thing in time management? What would your answer be?
Productivity.
It's knowing how much time you have.
Knowing how much time you
You
have.
can't be productive unless you know how much time you have. Herb Brooks had 6 months to get this hockey team ready to beat the greatest team in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so the tactics and the way he did things were based on how much time he had, right? So here we are, we're playing the Norwegians, we're getting killed as far as the schedule goes. We're going back and forth. The accommodations we had is you had 3 guys to a room. 2 guys got a bed and 1 guy didn't. And how that was decided was if you were the smallest guy, you got the cot,
Yeah.
right? You're hanging stuff inside the locker room. You're lugging all your own gear. You're trying to get it clean. So now we're playing a team that we think we're better than that. And so we play, we don't take it really that serious. We tie it. The trend is Brooks knows we're going to play them in the Olympics. It's going to be the same thing. The Olympics back then wasn't set up so for television. It was the real Olympics,
Yeah.
right? So it was how many goals for, how many goals against, and everything was metriced.
You guys beat the Russians.
Right.
And you could have not placed the next week.
Exactly.
Yeah, crazy.
So Herb says, this is a bad trend. You can't not take anybody, nothing. So even though we tied in the Norwegians, he knew we were going to play him in the Olympics. And so he stopped the trend from becoming a habit. And we skated and skated. But what he was doing that the Miracle movie didn't really do is one of our best players was a guy named Mark Johnson.
Mark Johnson.
Yeah, and Mark Johnson's dad was an incredible coach.
It's a great day for hockey.
Yeah, great day for hockey, right? Totally 2 different personalities. Mark's dad was positivity. Brooks was, more toughness, right? And I think Herb wanted to break Mark that day and let him know that his dad wasn't coaching him. So we skated and skated until Mark Johnson slammed his stick against the boards. That's how it really happened.
Yeah.
So you see this O'Callahan fight versus McClanahan in the movie, right? And if you really watch that clip, you'll see how 4 or 5 times that was going to be stopped. But as it plays through, now Brooks knows what he has to do where the problems are, right? Because if not, people are going to split up and team up. And this conflict will continue to go on. So I really think conflict is a really important thing with every team,
Yeah.
to let it happen so that you can figure out what goes on.
Now, why did Herb choose you?
I think it's the winning underdog. That I don't think he knew how I would I don't think he knew if I would win in the biggest situations, but he knew I wouldn't be nervous.
You didn't take the test?
Well, that's a much more complicated thing. So here's the deal. He has this take-home test. It's pretty simple. I'm living with the team doctor, Dr. Nagabots, and my mother had just passed, and so I used to call home every night, checking in with my father.
Yeah.
And this one night I called home, he was crying. He still had my mother's clothes in the closet. He had just lost his job, and I felt really guilty about chasing my career and not helping out the family. So I'm thinking, you know. So that night I decided if I don't take the test, I had made a promise to my mother. She said, listen, no matter what happens to me, if you have a chance to represent our country, you have to promise me you will and you won't turn pro. So I made that promise. And so all of a sudden now I say, well, if I don't take this test, Herb Brooks will send me home and then I'll just do whatever that does, right? But the brilliance of Herb was, I lived with a team doctor. The team doctor told Herb everything that was going on, and all he cared about is, could I do my job? And so in his own way, he wanted people that would be more interested in the team than themselves. And by showing that, you know, my team was my family, right? And so I think it really showed him a lot. So he asked me a question. It was really interesting. 2 questions. He said, Jimmy, what can I do to help? And I said, well, my father needs a loan. So Herb worked for the people in Minneapolis and figured out how to get a loan. So that kind of made me feel better. And the second question is, he says, can you do your job? I said, I can do my job.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So taking that test is a little different. But Disney did ask if they could do it the way it did because it kind of fit my character, you know, so I didn't have a problem with that.